$1 million. Say that number out loud for a moment. $1 million. For most people, that number represents something almost mythological. The finish line, the point at which financial stress disappears. The moment life finally becomes what it was supposed to be. But here is what the data actually shows. Nearly 1/3 of lottery winners, people who received life-changing sums of money overnight, end up filing for bankruptcy within 3 to 5 years. Professional athletes who earn tens of millions across their careers frequently retire broke. Inheritance recipients who receive significant windfalls often return to their previous financial position within a decade. $1 million did not save them. In many cases, $1 million accelerated their financial destruction. This is not about intelligence. This is not about character. This is about one specific rule that separates the people who build lasting wealth from the people who simply pass through it. And by the end of this video, that rule will be completely clear. Right now, if you are watching this, you are probably in one of two places mentally. Either you do not yet have significant wealth and you spend occasional quiet moments imagining what $1 million would feel like, what it would change, how differently you would live, the stress that would finally lift, the freedom that would finally arrive. Or you are somewhere in the middle of a financial journey, building slowly, and you have started to wonder whether the destination is actually what you have been told it is, whether the number, once reached, actually delivers what it promises. Both of these places are completely understandable, and both of them carry the same invisible assumption at their center. The assumption is this: $1 million is a destination. Reach it, and the financial journey is complete. That assumption is the most expensive belief most people carry about money, and it is the exact belief this video is going to dismantle carefully and completely. Here's what most people believe about having $1 million. They believe it means financial freedom. They believe it means never worrying about money again. They believe it means the ability to stop working if they choose. They believe the number itself is the solution to financial stress. And here is why that belief, while emotionally understandable, is mathematically incorrect. $1 million, sitting completely untouched, not invested, not growing. Simply existing as a static sum lasts approximately 13 to 17 years if a person withdraws $50,000 to $60,000 annually to live on. That is a reasonable middle-class living standard in many economies. 13 to 17 years. And then it is gone. For someone who reaches $1 million at 40 years old, that money runs out somewhere between their mid-50s and late 50s, still decades away from the end of a normal life expectancy, still facing years of expenses with nothing remaining. The number that felt like a destination turns out to have an expiration date, and that expiration date arrives far sooner than most people imagined when they were dreaming about the number from a distance. This is the first crack in the million-dollar mythology. But it is not the most important one. Here is the rule, stated simply and completely in 2 sentences. $1 million is not a destination, it is a tool. And like any tool, its value is entirely determined by how it is used, not by the fact of having it. Now let us go deeper, because the implications of this rule change everything about how a person should think about wealth. A tool has a purpose. A hammer sitting in a drawer does not build anything. It only creates value when it is used with intention and skill toward a specific outcome. The same principle applies with absolute precision to money at any level, including $1 million. The people who receive or accumulate $1 million and maintain it, grow it, and use it to generate lasting financial stability are not fundamentally different in intelligence or character from the people who receive the same amount and lose it within a few years. The difference is almost entirely in how they conceptualize what the money is. One group treats the million as an arrival, as something finally earned and therefore finally available to be enjoyed without restraint. The psychological relief of having arrived is so powerful that it overrides careful thinking about the future. The other group treats the million as a starting point, as capital that now has the structural power to generate more capital if handled with the same discipline and intention that built it in the first place. This distinction sounds simple. It is extraordinarily difficult to maintain emotionally when the number is actually in front of you. Now let us look at the actual mathematics, Because this is where the rule becomes impossible to argue with. $1 million deployed with genuine financial intention. Placed in a diversified portfolio, earning a long-term historical average of approximately 8% annually, generates $80,000 per year in average growth. At a reasonable and commonly cited withdrawal principle known as the 4% guideline, $1 million can sustainably support approximately $40,000 in annual withdrawals, while the principal continues growing enough to maintain its real value over time. This means that $1 million, used as a tool rather than consumed as a reward, can theoretically generate income indefinitely. Not for 13 years, indefinitely. The principal remains largely intact. The growth replaces what is withdrawn. The money does not expire. The difference between these two outcomes, $1 million consumed as a destination versus $1 million deployed as a tool, is not a small difference in comfort. It is the difference between financial security that lasts a lifetime and financial security that lasts a decade. Now apply the same mathematical logic at different scales. $500,000 at 8% average annual growth generates $40,000 per year in growth. $2 million generates $160,000 per year. The tool becomes more powerful as it grows. But the principle is identical at every level. The rule does not change based on the amount. What changes is the magnitude of the outcome when the rule is applied correctly or violated completely. Now here are the 3 most common and most costly mistakes that people make when they reach or receive significant money, including $1 million. The first mistake is lifestyle acceleration without a corresponding increase in the asset base. When someone reaches a significant financial milestone, the social and psychological pressure to upgrade their lifestyle is enormous. A better home, a newer car, more generous spending, nicer experiences. Each individual upgrade feels earned and reasonable, because it is. The problem is not upgrading the lifestyle. The problem is upgrading the lifestyle faster than the asset base can support it on a permanent basis. Spending $100,000 on lifestyle upgrades out of a $1 million portfolio does not leave $900,000. It leaves $900,000 with a higher monthly cost structure that now requires even more return just to break even. The tool just got smaller, and the job it needs to do just got bigger simultaneously. The second mistake is treating the number as protection rather than as potential. Many people who reach significant wealth shift into a deeply defensive posture. They become so afraid of losing what they have built that they move everything to the most conservative possible position, often generating returns that do not keep pace with inflation. The fear of losing the million is so powerful that it overrides the understanding that $1 million losing real value to inflation every year is already being lost, just slowly and invisibly. Protection and growth are not opposites. A well-structured approach to significant money involves genuine protection of a portion while allowing another portion to continue growing. Treating the entire sum as something fragile that must be shielded from any risk is how $1 million quietly becomes $500,000 in real purchasing power over 20 years without a single dramatic loss ever occurring. The third mistake is the absence of a clear purpose for the money. This sounds almost too simple to be meaningful, but it is perhaps the most practically important mistake on the list. People who accumulate or receive significant money without a specific, clearly defined vision for what that money is supposed to do tend to make decisions that are reactive rather than intentional. They spend when something appeals to them. They hold when fear arrives. They move money when someone they trust suggests it. The decisions are not necessarily wrong individually, but without a governing purpose, they lack coherence. And incoherent decisions with significant capital tend to produce outcomes that satisfy nobody fully, including the person making them. The people who maintain and grow significant wealth almost universally have a clear, specific answer to one question. What is this money for? Not in a vague sense, in a specific, structured, revisited regularly sense. Here are 3 concrete specific steps that can be taken, starting from wherever you currently stand. The first step is to write down today what your money is actually for, not what you would spend it on if you had more. What it is for, what financial outcome it is supposed to produce in your life over the next 10, 20, 30 years. This exercise alone separates intentional financial behavior from reactive financial behavior. And it costs nothing except the time to think clearly. The second step is to understand the difference in your own portfolio between money that is working and money that is sitting. Every financial position you hold should have a purpose and a timeline. Money needed in the next 1 to 2 years belongs somewhere accessible and stable. Money not needed for 5 or more years should be positioned to grow at a rate that outpaces inflation meaningfully. Knowing which category each portion of your money belongs in is basic financial clarity that most people never formally establish. The third step is to revisit the 4% principle as a mental framework, regardless of how much you currently have. If your annual living costs are $40,000, the portfolio that supports those costs indefinitely is approximately $1 million. If your costs are $60,000, the number is $1.5 million. Working backward from your actual cost of living to the asset base required to support it permanently gives you a specific, personalized target that is far more useful than an arbitrary round number. These steps are not complicated. They do not require financial expertise. They require only the decision to think about money with the same seriousness and intentionality that earning it. Required in the first place, the $1 million rule is simply this: money is always a tool. At $1,000, it is a small tool with limited reach. At $100,000, it is a more powerful tool with growing capability. At $1 million, it is a tool powerful enough to change the trajectory of an entire life, and the lives connected to it permanently. But a tool misidentified as a destination gets used up. It gets spent down to zero while its owner believes they have finally arrived somewhere safe. And the cruelest part of that story is that the arrival feeling is real. The relief, the satisfaction, the sense of having finally made it, all of that is genuine. It simply does not change the mathematics of what happens next. The people who build lives of lasting financial stability are not the people who reached the biggest number. They are the people who understood, at whatever level they reached it, that the number was never the point. The point was always what the number could become, if treated with the same care and intention that brought it into existence in the first place. That understanding, more than any amount of money, is what actually changes a life.